Okay, so this is part two of the backwards arrow. Now, I had misplaced some arrowheads that I was going to show in the first part of this video. So I'll show those to you now. Originally, for the first video, I had this one here. It's an antler tine drilled out a 1/4 inch, about an inch deep. Okay, 160 grains. Now, these other ones that I made are going to be a little different. This one here is more like an authentic arrowhead of this style with the antler tine. Okay, it's a white-tailed deer antler tine tip, and it was cut off, and I put a little barb on it. Okay, now this one is easier to make than this one. This one requires a lot of sanding and a lot of shaping. Okay, this one not so much, and it doesn't matter too much if the antler is curved in its natural state. You'll find more antler tines like this that are slightly curved. So you put the barb on the inside of the curve. You drill out a hole, okay, and then you mount it to the arrow, okay, and then you can sand it and grind it down so that the point is in line with the shaft. Okay. Now this one's a little loose because it was made for a different arrow, but I think you get the idea. So yeah, this is more authentic as far as shape goes and size. All right. Now there are several that I've seen that are smaller than this. I think I've seen one or two that are bigger. This is about, let's see, 2 inches or something. Okay. Now, I have another style here that's a 4-shafted stone point that will fit on the end of this arrow. Okay. And what I did is I just drilled out a dowel with a 1/4 inch drill bit. You know what I mean? And this is red oak because that's what I had available at the time, but it'd be better, especially if you're using a stone drill, to use a chute with a pith. Okay, a hardwood chute like dogwood with a pith, and then that pith will help guide your stone drill bit. Okay, if you try a stone drill bit on solid wood, it's going to take forever because the tip of the stone will keep breaking. You know what I'm saying? It'll keep chipping and breaking, and it won't drill perfectly straight. It'll start going off to the sides or whatever. Wherever the sharpest part of the stone tip is, or what's left of it, will eat into the wood unevenly. Okay, but if you have a pith to guide it, it's a little bit easier. Okay, so I also like to taper it in this way, a little bit of a dip or scoop out, and then wrap it with sinew to strengthen it. And there's almost nothing as far as the wall. I taper it down so there's hardly any thickness at the end here. Okay, so that the transition looks better, and it's a friction fit. Okay, now this whole thing, a combination of the arrowhead and 4-shaft, is 140 grains. Okay, and this one, the original one I showed, was 160 grains. So you can see antler is quite a bit heavier for its size than wood and the stone point. Okay, now this is a Madison type point, very common in the east where this type of arrow would be found, I guess. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now with a longer arrowhead, there's a couple of things that happen. It changes the dynamic spine of the arrow, and it changes the forward of center type balance. Okay, you don't need as much weight to get the same forward of center if you have a longer type arrowhead or a 4-shaft in arrowhead. And the dynamic spine, when you're shooting it, it's the arrow itself is going to bend more as it comes out of the bow, so it's going to have this different recovery time after you shoot it, which makes a slight difference in drag and all that kind of stuff, which it'll drop the arrow down significantly at a long range, but short range you don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, so there's that. If you want to see what it looks like to have a 4-shafted arrowhead on a backwards type arrow, that's how I like to do it. Okay, I also have another antler tine, a little more streamlined. This is also found in the archaeological record. I've seen at least one like this with a narrow antler tine or bone drilled out for the arrow shaft. And this one here is 98 grains. I got one here. I've also seen types like this that are wider. Okay, now this is an antler tine as well, but it's mostly pith. I don't know if you can see. It's not as lightly colored as the other ones. And that's because it's the pith. To get it to this shape, I had to grind off almost all of the outer coating, or the hard shell of the antler, to get it to look like this. So unless you have an antler tine that's already shaped like this, I don't recommend making these. It's also pretty rough, so I wouldn't want to shoot this at anything. You know what I mean? I just made it to see what it would look like. It's 118 grains. I saw one in a book that was shaped this way, so I just wanted to try it. But you would need an unusually shaped antler tines, or big antler tines, to do this with. Okay. All right, so that's it. I just wanted to show you that because I had lost those. Now, I'm probably going to shoot some of these in another video. I like this type of arrow. I think I mentioned that a couple times. I want to make more of these. The only thing I might change on this arrow on the next one I make is to taper this fat end a little bit more. You know, shave a little more off this back end because it's pretty thick. The wall is pretty thick on the cane, so it can stand being shaven down more. And use a strong but lightweight wood for this nock insert. That way I can get some weight off the back of this arrow, so I can reduce the weight of the arrowheads, make it a little more streamlined, and a faster shooting arrow. But if you have a heavy poundage bow, it doesn't matter. You know, shooting a heavy arrow is fine. But I'm going to be using lighter poundage bows, like 40 pounds and stuff. So I want to get the weight down as much as I can on these arrows without losing strength. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, I think that's it. I'll be making more of these Eastern style arrows with this type of 2-feather fletch, the Eastern style fletch, and this type of arrowhead, Lavana or Madison, and that sort of thing. Okay.